So I got talking I used technology to get talking to 10 other journalists, women, not just journalists, women in the media that I work with. I think I may be the oldest, usually I'm the oldest, reporter on any beat in Fiji. I'm looking to Meroni for acknowledgement and agreement if that's true. A lot of the times I am. So I would like to think some journalists see me as a big sister. I'm old enough to be mother to some of them, so I take on whatever role becomes useful to them. These are some of the things we see. These are some of the responses that we get online when people don't agree with our stories. They find us, they find our profiles, to the point where young journalists are smart. They will use alternative names, middle names, different names completely, just to have a presence online, because these people find us, and they find our families, they find our parents, they find out where we live, and these are the things they say to us. Some of them, especially during the lead up to the last elections, were very bold and would use their actual profiles, which a lot of us have screenshot for future reference. Some of them will be fake, and these are the things they say to us. This is a favorite, this is a crowd favorite, slut shaming, but online. This is a direct quote from, the slide previous was a direct quote from a journalist who has left the newsroom only very recently.
Can you summarize what she said?
I'll summarize what she said. About a quarter of the slides I showed you were from her. She shared this experience for the first time today. And I was telling Donna earlier that I think I might need counseling, or at least a few drinks to debrief from it. She was threatened to the point where her family was identified, both of her parents' homes were identified, where she lived was identified, and they talked about her personal life, some of it untrue, and they identified themselves as being members of the armed forces. So she was sufficiently afraid, so afraid she didn't tell anyone. Not her supervising editor, not her chief of staff, not her friends, not her closest friends, some of whom I also interviewed for this presentation. But today she cried through it. And I asked her after a couple of hours, so I said, thank you for sharing this with me. I'm feeling the need to refresh on First Do No Harm. Shout out to the guys at the Crisis Center, because I was very afraid at what state she might be in, because she's far away from me. But she said it's the reason she left, and she was one of the best. When she said she was leaving, both the media organization and the country, I pleaded with her to stay. I said, you are such a star, you're brilliant, you're going to be amazing, you've done so much. And in the lead up to last year's elections, she and I faced quite a lot of online sexual harassment and violence and threats, some of them death threats together. So I actually pleaded with her not to go. But she left, and today she said, I don't want anything to do with the news or the media or politics in Fiji. Second case study is very important to me because this journalist, her perpetrator was a female MP, still in Parliament now, but this situation happened several years back. The journalist was brand new in the newsroom. She interviewed that MP, an MP who professes to be a feminist, works in and around the feminist space and the human rights space. She published this journalist's photo, a photo of her conducting an interview, and left it online for half a day. And this journalist was mercilessly shamed. No apology from either the MP or the organization to date. She reported the incident to her supervisors. Nothing happened. This is not a journalist, but a very well-known figure in local media. For her, it's, as Virasila said, so much violence offline, and it transfers online. And so she doesn't use Facebook because that's where the worst of the violence comes from. And so she's had to toughen up, and I'll talk about why toughening up is so toxic. The last one I promise. This journalist I chose her. So I asked 10 journalists, 8 responded. I only had time to put in 4. This one I chose because her experience is on the daily. Like the volume is horrifying. She tells her bosses. Her bosses haven't done anything. They say they will. She hasn't seen anything happen. So she will, and she gets her harassment. It's more stalking, heckling, stalking. So she gets photos of herself that these people send to her. And she says sometimes when she gets them by email as well, she just can't work for the rest of the day. So, speaking to something that Shalene said. So to answer your question, Viri, do I think this issue is one that's recognized in the media? I think it's always been around, but I don't think that anyone really knows how to deal with it. The journalist who was cyberbullied by the MP, I asked her, what do you think your supervisor could have done? Because I have a lot of respect for her boss, and I wasn't willing to accept that her boss is just neglected to, comfort her, console her, offer support. And she said, Lydia, I think I might have just needed validation for what I was going through. No one said anything. And she said, but in retrospect, now she's a senior. She said, I don't think he knew what to say. And I might stay biased a little bit and say I'm of the generation that most of the newsroom heads are. So there's some possibility, although I said that there isn't, there's some possibility that I might be biased towards these colleagues of mine, thinking they know better. But I know that the workload and the conditions under everyone in the newsroom works through makes it impossible, or nearly impossible for people to do anything. Are they doing enough? I don't think they know what to do. Is there room for things to be done? Yes. And we talked about this on Monday in a specific media session for this symposium. We'd like to suggest policies within newsrooms that obligate the supervisors to take action, if not protective action, then at least support, or at least referral to the services which do exist. These are locals, and to answer your question, this is what a lot of the local journalists work for. But as Viri said in the beginning, I work for an international media organization, and my situation now is a complete 360. I have support on the daily. I have the support of colleagues, and I have access to psychosocial services, and I have the ability to say to my boss, this is a story that's hitting too close to home. I think I might need you to check up on me in case somewhat what I'm feeling is in the story. Please bring on an extra producer. And that's, if other media people here will assess with me, is our dream. Our newsrooms are stretched far beyond, some of you are probably shocked at the salary scale in the newsroom right now. These are people who are meant to be influencing the national discourse on many, if not all, of issues that affect our country. But what they're working under is horrendous, both in the newsroom and outside. But to speak to some of the more complicated forms of TFGBV that you spoke about, Viri, I'm just going to take us back to just before the elections last year, where we saw orchestrated, commercially driven, but politically based cyberbullying. We saw the creation of fake pages and fake personalities and fake NGOs and fake CSOs who would misinform and disinform, take footage, take stories and recreate, edit out the truth, portray it to be saying something else. I faced a lot of that. But like I said, I'm in a dream situation, a dream job actually. There are experts just waiting to support me. And maybe 100 people who tell me on the daily, you'll be all right, ignore them. In Fiji, and I suspect in the region, people are struggling, like Shalene said. Thank you.